Mike's Mets podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pishota, and a happy Thursday to you. We are in a new year, 2024, and the Mets have actually made a move, which is pleasant to see. So the Mets have announced a deal with outfielder Harrison Bader, a one-year deal worth $10.5 million. This was after what was roughly a month of just non-news from the New York Mets, where headlines were being taken up by other teams. The Mets actually make a move here. They bring in Bader, a outfielder. This is a acquisition that's primarily to enhance the Mets outfield depth. Would be my guess, but bringing in a player of Bader's caliber, certainly a nice move. Bader, most recently, had played for the Yankees and Reds last year. His numbers not great, and that's really the reason why a player like Bader is currently available. Bader is 29 years old, is profiled as a speedy, defensively minded outfielder. Even this point, really in the prime of his career, is still considered a excellent defender. He was second in the American League in total zone runs saved. So this is a guy who, from a metric standpoint, is an excellent defensive outfielder. Bringing him in should really help with that. That was a kind of a glaring hole in the Mets outfield because Starling Marte had regressed so much in terms of his defensive abilities last season. It was really kind of left to Brandon Nimmo in center field to do the majority of the work. Bader is primarily a center fielder for most of his career. He's stepped into that position earlier in his career. He had played a little bit of right field, but he's primarily played center. My guess would be that they bring in Bader, and particularly for that kind of contract, he's going to be competing for one of those outfield positions. Left field currently unoccupied. So bring him in. He could play potentially left field, but I think might be playing a little bit of center, a little bit of right. Depends how the Mets want to really deploy him. But he can definitely play all three outfield positions if asked to do so. I have no doubt about that. Maybe slot him in at DH, but with his kind of defensive ability, you really want to keep him out in the field as much as possible. He really is a guy who's had kind of like two good seasons. His really best year coming in 2021, and that was the season that kind of attracted the Yankees to him. So in 2021, and I'm just going to read off that year, he had a 785 OPS, 16 home runs, 9 stolen bases, only played 103 games that year. Health, definitely a drawback with Bader. He is not a guy who has ever played a full 162 game, 150 game season. His most games played came in 2018, which is probably his other good season, where he batted 264, has 756 OPS, 12 home runs, 15 stolen bases. In 2021, he had won a Gold Glove, so this is a guy who comes with hardware. He definitely does have name recognition. People know the name Harrison Bader because he's, particularly if you're a Met fan, because you've seen him play for the St. Louis Cardinals, where he had most of his good seasons. Came over to the Yankees. This was supposed to be the Yankees' big move, really, of last year when they were still contending, and Bader really underperformed. So coming over to New York did not really factor in really great for his career, and what most people assumed was going to be a big moment for both the Yankees and Bader. Again, Bader still very young from a a career standpoint. He's spent a number of years in the league, but is still only 29. So he had arrived at a really pretty early age. I think at 23 years old or 22 when he debuted, and his slide in, as most people see, as a really good player. As I said, Gold Glove winner, but a borderline All-Star in some cases. It's just a matter of health and durability with Bader, but has a lot of tools, some of them really good. I think Stearns, the Mets GM, really starting to target players who are coming off sort of lesser years, and he sees them as potentially coming in and being low risk, high reward moves that can potentially really benefit the Mets. So if Bader stays healthy, and keep in mind he's never really stayed healthy for an entire season. If he does stay healthy, this is a guy who can give you great defense, can steal some bases, can contribute a little bit of power. He's not really a power hitter, but a guy who can make good contact. For his career, a 706 OPS does not really scream a guy who's particularly uh, really talented, only batting 243 for his career. Offense is not really Bader's strong suit. Neither is really getting on base. He's not for his career ever gotten on base that much. 310 on base percentage. So what you're expecting him to do is really going to contribute in your defense. And that's really where he can give you the most value for his contract. Again, this is a low risk 1 year deal. It's $10.5 million. Pretty light for a guy in his prime. And you're just kind of hoping at this point that he stays healthy and gives you a little bit of help in that outfield depth, which they are truly sorely missing because if you're expecting DJ Stewart to be your primary left fielder, there's going to probably be some competition between those two. Starling Marte is a question mark in terms of his health and his reliability, so this guy can potentially give you a fourth outfield spot. I know they had already traded for Tyrone Taylor. Looks like Taylor could also be in the mix for that, so they're hoping that they have enough quality outfielders out there to sort of make this outfield a positive usage, because it was not really, other than Brandon Nimmo. Brandon Nimmo was the lone bright spot now for last year. DJ Stewart had given them some surprising pop late in the year. I'm sure they're hoping that DJ Stewart can contribute that again. It's never really been his career mark either, so there's question marks here. But Stearns, from a player evaluator standpoint, is very talented. He knows what he's doing. Has basically been the trademark for his career, the calling card for his career. He knows how to find value. I find the Bader deal to be intriguing. It's not something that's going to instantly make them as a contender, but it's something that gives them a little bit of what they've been missing last season, and provided, again, he stays healthy, can be a potentially very positive move for the Mets. So we see here, so Harrison Bader, now a New York Mets, we're happy to see. Darth Bader, as he is called, now donning the orange and blue rather than the pinstripes of the Yankees. I had to keep the Yankee image on there for now, but we're going to be interested to see him in the New York Mets uniform in 2024. So welcome to New York again, Harrison Bader.
Thank you for listening to Mike's Mets podcast. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Finally, please also follow the podcast Twitter, which is Mike's Mets Pod, all one word. Appreciate your time and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. Let's go, Mets.